Welcome back to another episode of Honesty Talk, where we will be speaking about something a little bit different in this season, and that is pedestals. Placing people on pedestals. For the last 4 years, I think wherever I've gone, people are like, oh my gosh, are you Aliyah from Honesty Talk? Is it you? And in all honesty, it really... I don't know, I kind of feel very uncomfortable when that happens. I remember once I was in IKEA with my children, and a sister, bless her, she said, I think it was either her sister or her mum who had told her about Honesty Talk, and, you know, she was a big fan, and could she take a selfie? So we took a selfie, and my kids were like, you know, rolling their eyes kind of thing, you know. It happens, right? You know, and I'm sure you've had experiences over the last 4 years similar to that. But it makes me uncomfortable because, I mean, even if it's not for like HTT, if it's for like as an author for the books, I'm just a human being, man. That actually you're not aware of my mess at all. You're not aware of my mess. You're not aware of my shortcomings. You don't know my struggles. You don't know what I battle with. And it's very easy, I think, for people to see men and women on social media who are famous, if that's what you want to call it, for whatever reason, and just think that they've got it all together. But we're automatically placed somewhere there. I don't really necessarily feel comfortable with that because, like I said, it's only what you're seeing in public. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So I think it's an important topic, one that we sometimes we're in the receiving end of it, but we can also do it for others as well, do it to others. So yeah, opening up the floor to thoughts about pedestals and yeah.
Yeah, it is a really uncomfortable position to be in when someone elevates you in their eyes. On the other hand, I can see why we all look for role models, right? Someone that we aspire to be like in the obvious and I guess the ways that they show themselves to be. So I get why some people might latch on to certain figures as aspirational and those who have motivated them. And sometimes it also comes from a place of that person having meaning in their life. So something they said, something they wrote, something they did.
True.
Helping them at a time that they really needed that. And the transformation or the shift or the impact of that being so meaningful to them that they have a strong affinity and feel like a strong affinity and connection with that person. And it's for us to be conscious of how we're positioning people. And even if we position them as aspirational, knowing that they're just as human as us. They make errors just like us, they err just like us, they're fallible just like us, and that no one is above sinning, no one is above failing and failure and falling, and no one is above making mistakes. And I think when we put people in these positions, we can get really disappointed when they do something. Like, you know, people look up to maybe hijabis, and the hijabi will take her hijab off. And oh my God, you've disappointed us. But how? That's them and their deen and their relationship with Allah. I can get the disappointment in terms of you removing, the person removing, but that's her thing though. That's her worship. And the danger of us kind of like really having a warped perception of someone that starts to impact our hearts. That's where the danger is, when it starts to impact our heart. For me, that's where
I mean, I'm hearing, when you're talking, I'm hearing like an attachment and a stake. I have something at stake if you don't do what I believe you should do. And I think there's and I want to disclaim, because I don't want it to seem like people, you know, connect with what you do, your work, your output, your content, and they feel related and they love you and they want to show you appreciation through message or interaction. And it's not like, it's not like that. The love, we appreciate it when someone comes. We are so glad, you know, it's beautiful that they took the time to bother to listen and watch and care. But I think the danger is the unspoken part. If I admire 1, 2, and 3 about you, I'm automatically filling in the blanks. It must be so easy for her. She must have this together. It must be, stuff like this must not bother her. I'm starting to put in like imaginary, like perfect scenarios, and I'm attaching things that just aren't real. And I think this, and this is a tangent, but I think it's important to say that when we don't bring the humanity, like you said, into it, it's very easy to give someone evil eye, or to put them out of, you're putting them, you're imagining something that's not even there. It's not even real. Like, and I think that can be really, really dangerous. I feel like personally, I try to be what I believe is as candid as possible. Like, about that there's hard times and there's awesome things, there's things that work. And I think that we can admire qualities, one aspect of how someone is. You can go quality shopping. Like, I like that you have this, and I love how you do this, and I love how she handles that. And I kind of aspire to different aspects, but no one person has got it wrapped like 360 degrees. And
we treat people, the problem is that we treat people as though they do. And it's very, very dangerous, because the moment that person makes one mistake publicly, that's it. It's a complete assassination of that person's character, because we think that they've got everything together. They are together. They are close to Allah. You know, they're successful. And so, like I said, one slip up.
it's not even
It's a bit of an
sometimes
issue.
not even a mistake. Sometimes it's just not a meeting of an expectation.
Either, whether it's not the meeting of an expectation or a slip up, that person is completely cancelled. You know, and so it's really it's dangerous. It's dangerous because we're then maybe doing an injustice to that person, but also it's dangerous for us. I completely agree with you in terms of connecting with another individual. If someone has liked what we've said, what we've done, you know, our work, you know, this is different. But I think a way around this is actually quite simple, in that rather than even kind of go what did you say, character shopping, or what did you say, quality shopping. Quality shopping, I like the term, is actually just attribute their qualities back to Allah. Yeah, that person was able to say something that resonated by his permission. That person was able to deliver a class or a course that transformed my life by his permission. That person was able to write this, say this, do this, that had an effect on me because of him. So rather than attribute it to the person, attribute it back to Allah. And I think what that does is that, A, we remember Allah. We're thankful to Allah for the means, which is the person. And we're taking it away from that person, which is then making it easier for that individual Because, you know, when you're praised a lot, it messes up your niyyah and your levels of sincerity with Allah. It really, really does. And shaitan is gonna pounce on that. So it's like we're talking about the dangers in terms of the person placing someone on a pedestal, but the person that's being placed on the pedestal is very dangerous for them too.
I was listening to you talk about the connecting it back to Allah, and it made me think about how, you know, I can say Allahumma barik. I can make a dua for Allah to bless the thing He gave this person, and if it's from Allah, He can give it to me too. Like I can make a dua for them to keep it, and for me to also gain it if that's what I want. And I think that, you know, for the person who has the blessing, to attribute it back to Allah themselves and to remember. Because if I'm, just like you're saying, if I'm absorbing this praise and I'm thinking I'm onto something or I've got something going for me, it's the path to destruction. I'm on the way down. And connecting it back to Allah preserves the blessing. Because when I think, who is it? It's Qarun who says, this is from me. I did this. And he gets swallowed up by the ground. It's done. It's done. So it's the fastest way to lose a blessing is to think you did it.
And the thing is, for some people, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from this, is that they're not necessarily aware. So you may be taking that into the next realm, the next life.
They're not aware of.
They're not aware of the fact that they're attributing it to themselves. You know, to be made aware of it is a blessing from Allah. You know? So I think we need to kind of help. As a community, we need to help each other. You know, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed someone in a position of influence, it's not an easy place to be in. It really is not an easy place to be in.
Quite dangerous.
It's a battle.
Because it's such a position of responsibility, you know, for the things that you do, that someone follows you on. You know, we know the hadith of the one who, because he did that and all the people that did the thing after them, the sin is counted, you know, and so it's my dua is always, Ya Rab, like Allah make me better than they think of me, and hide and cover me what they don't see of me, because truly we're all messy.
Oh yeah.
We've all got our flaws and the things that we do, and like you said, we sin to different degrees, to different levels, and some of us it's made public, and that's why that person can be shut down. But the ones who are shooting them down have to remember that they too have their sins.
And the only difference is that they've been exposed and you haven't.
Right.
Simple. Let's, you know.
It's so important to remember the humanity. The person is a human. That person that we're putting on a pedestal is a human, and when we elevate them beyond that, that's where things get shaky.
It makes me remember where so where's the line between someone who's human and flawed and someone becomes aware of what's going on, and then this person is now being, you know, judged, and you know, they're thrown into the light and people know what's going on. Of course, Allah only allows this to happen after, you know, several warnings, and He will never blow you out at the first mistake. It makes me think of the intention of the person. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, through the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, people who, when they're alone, they breach Allah's prohibitions, barriers. You're one thing in private and you're one thing in public. For the person who has this influence, when you start to live this duality, it's very dangerous.
I think that applies to everyone, Sumayah. I think every single person who is out there in the public is not going to be exactly the same that they are.
I'm not talking about human differences between presentation and doing your job and giving your best. I'm talking about, I'm aware that I'm giving people one thing, and then when it's just me and only Allah sees me, I'm doing the undoable.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. I think for every single person there is a degree of that, whether it's slight and it's small. We all fall into that. None of us are going to be practicing everything we preach in public. at home, in private. You know, we all fall short in that regard. Every single person. I don't think there's anyone where there's like a complete mirror between what they're putting out in public in what they're doing at home. For some, the gap is huge. Like literally you're doing the very opposite of what you're saying in public, in private. And for some, it's like so I think it applies to everyone. What our job is, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts us into the public eye, is to be aware of that and to ask him to make us better in private than we are in public, and to bank on our private secret good deeds. I'm telling you, because when you're doing things that are known by the people, it is more than likely that it's going to be targeted by shaitan. It's going to be affected by your ego. You know, especially if you're praised and you're put on a pedestal. So you better be sure to have your stash of private deeds to save you. And I think it's being aware of that battle and working towards it. And I think just for me personally, speaking about my own personal experience, there have been times where I've just wanted to come completely off social media. Yeah, multiple times, because I think, oh my gosh, I love Allah, I love my deen. But I have my shortcomings, yeah? And I have made mistakes and I have sinned. Who am I to advise and to call people when I've got this and that? But this is a trick of shaitan as well, because he wants to stop you from doing the khair, right? But it's about being aware of that battle, still doing good, but then working harder on yourself. And that's something that I haven't mastered. And I'm a work in progress, man. I'm a work in progress.
We all are.
Yeah.
We all are. And the thing that you were saying about the gap, my understanding of the gap is when it's like night and day gap, where people are literally one way, you know, the sheep outside and the lion at home, kind of real night and day. And that's for us to I think for me, what I'm taking from what you're both saying is to check in on the gap, where that gap might exist, to check myself on that gap. So what I'm saying to people, what I'm saying to clients, what I'm putting out there, am I going to be amongst those who Allah refers to in the Quran, do you say what you do not do? That part. So I take it to kind of like bring it inward, like, okay, so you're saying this and saying this and saying this. So what about you, sis? And that's to my reflection. So what about you, sis? How are you showing up, sis? What are you doing, sis? How's your relationship with Allah, sis? And being really honest with myself, being in a position of influence or having a platform is really challenging, because you have to keep yourself in check. And for me, I tell like my people, check me. Check me. If you're not checking me, you're not my person. Because my people will say, hey, but I can see your hijab is changing, but I can see you're not doing it. You used to, is everything okay? Like, check. Having people around you who are checking you and being open to being checked.
See, we have a problem in the community about this.
Oh, the way we check in?
No, the fact that we feel like we don't have a right to check in.
Oh, don't judge me.
Don't judge me. This is my individual journey. No. This is between me and Allah. That's you. This is me. We have a problem. I feel, when I became Muslim, 25 years ago, it was very judgmental. Like, really, to the point that so many sisters I know, subhanallah, left Islam or stopped practicing. It was harsh. It was like hard, yeah? But I feel like we've gone to the complete other extreme, where you can't even advise someone and say, I'm actually worried for your akhirah. I'm worried because you've done this or you've done that. We're all on our own individual journey. Are we? Is it an individual journey? In one sense, yes. But actually, we are asking Allah to guide us all to the straight path. And we should be concerned for another person's soul's journey, another person's soul's journey, just as much as we are with our own. But we have a big problem with that. And even if we talk about it publicly, oh my gosh, everybody gets sick.
I mean, we're going to get comments to this video.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That comment specifically because we have got to this point, and I don't know where we've got this from, this whole don't judge me, only God can judge me. We judge all the time. If I'm looking at your hijab and I'm saying, sis, that's fire, I'm judging it. If I'm thinking I don't like it, I'm judging it. We're always making judgment of things. So the idea that we don't judge or we shouldn't judge is nonsense, because we actually do. That's how we make decisions. That's how we come to certain conclusions, because we're making judgment. So the idea that we can't be checked, I think we should be fearful for our souls if we're of the position that no one can check us.
Absolutely.
Because that's when we're left to our own devices and our own nafs. And to be left to our nafs is a dangerous place to be. Even though we're like the hadith, the dua the Prophet ﷺ taught us, لا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين, for the blink of an eye, do not leave me to myself, because myself is it's a nonsense.
They throw me under the bus.
Right? Subhanallah, but then we want to be left to ourselves. No, we don't. We want to have those close people who, just as they will check us, they're open to being checked. And like Jannah buddies, you know, those who really want to journey with you for the pleasure of Allah.
Do you know what it reminded me of? You know, I mentioned in a previous episode that I'm on this Quran course, and subhanallah, we're currently going through Baqarah at the moment. And you know, this notion of this individual journey, don't judge me, God is merciful, it actually comes from the Christian background. Yeah. And throughout Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to, you know, the religion of the Jews at that time, and actually continuing, and the religion of the Christians, and actually we are the middle path. Islam is the middle path. We're not completely harsh and rigid. You know, the rulings from the Torah were very, 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 very strict. Neither are we just like, you know, floating and it's all about mercy and love. We're in the middle. And part of that middle path is, this is an individual journey between me and my Rabb, but we are community. Yeah, it is ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, right? You know, and I need you to love me for the sake of Allah. What does that mean? That means wanting my soul to be returned back to its owner in the best possible state. And if you see that I'm moving away from that, that you warn, and okay, take the best approach in warning me. You know, take the best approach in advising me, but don't shy away. We've gone that side, and it's really, really dangerous. It's really, really dangerous. And I don't know what stick we're going to get from it, but hey, you know what? Bring it.
No, I mean, because we're not speaking to an individual.
No.
Like to the viewer, we don't know you from Adam. Like we're not calling you out. This is for you and your inner circle. This is like advice for us first and the people around us. I think, as you just touched on right now, what came to mind for me was you need a relationship. You don't jump out of a bush and tell people you need to change and you need to do this, because that goes back to the way it used to be for you. You're not a stranger with harsh language and something to say. This is somebody who has an established relationship. I think the point that I was trying to get across when I spoke last time was more about the kind of like the intention of the person. I think there's a difference between I'm trying my best in front of God to do the right thing versus I'm running a hustle on everyone and I'm pretending to be this thing and I'm not. And God knows the difference. You can hustle to people, but God knows what you are. He knows what you really are. And so when you're presenting yourself as doing the best you can, and maybe I can speak about one aspect because I feel like that's where I have something to offer, but I'm quiet about other things because I'm struggling in those areas or working on those things. Don't fill in the blank for me and assume that because I'm speaking about one thing that I've got the other.
Final thoughts on pedestals. LaYinka, I'll start with you.
Think there's the message to the person who is on a pedestal. Check yourself, but have people around you who can check you. And also I think for the people who are looking at people who have positions, to know and remember that these people in a position are humans and they're fallible and they will be falling in some way, in some area of their life. So don't put them above where their position is, you know, in terms of they're human just like you.
Jazakallah khair. Sumayah?
I have to think about mine. You go ahead.
Just your first thoughts.
Yeah, it's just what you said. Just remember that people are human. They're probably doing the best that they can. I think there's a danger that when someone falls, sometimes I feel like there's an enthusiasm to just want to eat them alive. Like be a bit, have some grace and some compassion, because it's going to be your turn at some point.
May
So
Allah
hold
protect
people.
us from that.
Yeah, I mean, hold people the way you'd want to be held.
Hold your tongue.
But then when it's something that's an injustice.
No, go all in. Tear them up.
Oh gosh, you did not just say that.
Holy too.
No. An injustice, if it's blatant, intentional harm, is different. It's different. I think it's what I said about the intention. I'm trying my best is not the same as
them up.
I'm running a hustle. It's not the same thing.
Oh goodness.
And we're coming to the end of the episode, you throw that in.
We're here.
Okay, right. So my final thoughts on that is, you know what? I'm just going to make dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all sincere. We are all a work in progress. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us because we're all a work in progress, and attribute all of our successes, our strengths to Him. Forgive us for our shortcomings, our many shortcomings, and cover us in every way. And may we work towards helping one another towards our ultimate goal, and that is to be pleased by Him and to be blessed by Him, to enter His gardens of delight. Ameen, Ya Rab. Thank you for joining this episode. We will see you at the next episode of Honest Tea Talk, inshallah.
The journey from then to now, what has been consistent, alhamdulillah, is that we've kept it real.
I like this season. This season feels like home.
I think the effect that they have, for me, I wish I knew sooner. That's what it is.
The audience can decide. And
If I could go back and give myself those tools earlier on, if I could understand the power and impact that they would have.
and our truths might not be the truths for everyone else, but we've spoken ours.
They could have saved and resolved and healed, and I just didn't have them.
It's all been about our soul's journey to Him, and ultimately that's what this life is.